Israel's defense minister says Hamas is trying everything it can to produce some kind of achievement. Their latest conflict has taken a new turn tonight. Correspondent John Huddy tells us the Palestinians have a new weapon in their arsenal.
Add another component to the fight. Hamas now says it has armed drones and released this video to back its claim. Today, the Israeli army says it shot down a Hamas drone circling above the city of Ashdod, just north of the Gaza Strip. If Hamas is using armed drones, that poses a new threat to Israel as the fighting enters into its 8th day. This, as Israel's prime minister describes the moral difference between the two fighting sides.
Here's the difference between us. We're using missile defense to protect our civilians, and they're using their civilians to protect their missiles.
So far, Hamas has fired over 1,000 rockets at Israel, leaving some damage and injuries. In Gaza, Israel has bombed more than 1,400 locations, leaving more than 170 Palestinians dead and more than 1,000 wounded. Today, the streets of Gaza City were nearly deserted, people fearing Israeli airstrikes. An estimated 90% of the stores are closed. Only food vendors and markets are open. On the border with Gaza, Israel ordered Palestinians to evacuate their homes. More than 17,000 residents have sought refuge in United Nations-run schools, now being used as shelters. What we're finding is people are very willing to talk to us about the situation on the ground here. They say they have nothing to do with Hamas. 26-year-old Mustafa Zayed and his 6-month-old daughter Zahir are also among the Palestinians seeking refuge in the shelters. Do you have any clothing? Were you able to bring anything here?
They asked us to leave the house immediately. We left everything behind. We had only like 15 minutes to leave. We left in a hurry.
And Mustafa is hoping he can go home soon. That may happen. The reason being, we're getting reports that Egypt is trying to broker a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas that, if agreed upon by both parties, would go into effect possibly as soon as 9 a.m. local time. That's 2 a.m. Eastern. And then at that point, both sides would meet in Cairo to go over the terms of a longer-term ceasefire agreement. So now we're going into day 8 of the fighting, and perhaps at this point, Brett, we may be seeing the fighting coming at least temporarily to a halt. Brett?
Let's hope. John Huddy live in Gaza City early Tuesday morning. John, thank you. We'll follow that late-breaking development. The country's top diplomat is concentrating tonight on another Middle East powder keg, Iran. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry on efforts to salvage negotiations over that country's nuclear future.
With just 6 days to go before a July 20th deadline to forge a deal, Secretary of State John Kerry met in Vienna today with Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif. While there are signs Iran is showing some flexibility by offering a very modest reduction